Hi guys, so we've reached the end of Mamemeister's High Score Kerfuffle Season 4, a season of Alan's favourites. Our last week's game was a game that everyone would associate with Alan, and that was China Miner, released in 1984 by Interceptor Software. This is an interesting one. It's not like most games. It presents itself as a platform game, but actually it's barely a platformer at all. I think this relates to its frustration. You cannot just work it out on the fly, you will die, and you will need to try different things to get it to work, and then complete the level. I think it's a lot like these metal puzzles I'm showing here. You look at them, try to work out how they work, try something, and then keep trying until you solve it. Once you've solved the puzzle though, it's much more straightforward to do it again. This is the case with China Miner. Each level you need to work out the route and timings to hit the different platforms. But once you've done that, then the execution is actually pretty straightforward. I reckon I could probably complete this game fairly easily if I spent enough time learning the levels. I've just not had that much time this week. I put a post on my Instagram the other day asking the question, is this a hidden gem or a complete turd? I'd actually side on the former. Once you realise what the game is, then it's actually pretty decent and provides a different challenge to many other games. It can be very satisfying when you work out how to solve each level, just like those little puzzles I showed you. I think most people didn't really get what this game is about, or it's just not that appealing to them. But for me, you know I like a puzzle. So let's take a look at the scores. We had just 11 scores this week, which maybe isn't hugely surprising given the game, and that some places are already set. We didn't hear from our top 2 in the league, and their positions are already decided. This certainly has meant there are good points available for everyone else. Finishing just outside the points is Sinner Steve, who I'm glad has returned each week since joining for Commando. We've then got our usual faces, all of which get a good amount of points this week. Juffer has done well to take 5th and put out a video of his run on YouTube. Alan seemed to be the most excited about this game compared to all the great arcade games we've had, and he takes his best finish of the season in 4th. I finished in 3rd, but I'm sure I could have got further. I certainly found setting my arcade stick to 4-way helped a lot. I'm definitely pleased with that though. Ian has finished in 2nd and was pretty determined to do well here. In par I expect to beat Paul overall. Our winner this week though will come as a surprise to no one, and that's Charlie Farr. You can find a video of him completing the game on his YouTube, so he was always going to be the one to beat. He got to level 17 or so during a stream at the weekend. Well done to Charlie, and I look forward to seeing him return for a few more games next season. Here is the final distribution of the scores this season, and despite only having 11 people playing, we've got an almost perfect normal distribution. We can also see Charlie Farr out on his own, separating himself by a whole bin when we only have 7 bins total. This was a great performance, and knowing that he could have easily done more. And here is the final iteration of the difficulty curve. The scoring in this game is very linear, with 250 available on each level, but the difficulty is all over the place, with some levels much more difficult than others. Even so, we saw a normal distribution, and here is the difficulty curve you'd expect from that. An okay early game, where most people are able to complete the first few levels, but then most people are topping out at similar points, reflecting the flattening of the curve. But beyond that, the scores increase, reflecting that once you can get on top of the game, there is the opportunity to progress. As I said, I reckon I could complete the game, and I stand by that. Maybe I'll give it a go once I pick up a Mr. FPGA. Now let's look at the final table, covering all of the past 10 weeks. Over the course of the season, we've had 27 different people play, and 22 different point scorers, which is great. With some people not playing, we've seen a mix-up of the scores. Points for Bob have seen him move up 1 place into 18th. Milthy is also up 1 into 15th, getting ahead of Robert and Mr. Cosine. Alan is the big mover this week, after taking 4th place in China Miner. He's up 8 into 13th. Otherwise, things are fairly stable. That win for Charlie Farr has moved him ahead of Paulie Mars, but the 2nd place for Ian has meant he's been able to stay ahead, and my 3rd place has kept me ahead of Ian. Our top 3 were already set though, and have been highly consistent throughout the season. In 3rd place, we have Big Juffer, who's been excellent all season. 2nd, we have 10 Shearers, who led the early part of the season with some great performances, with Terracrester being a highlight. He put up a good challenge to our eventual winner, Andrew Sickboy Low. Congratulations once again to Andrew for an excellent season win. He's taken 5 wins this season, including being the only person to complete 1942, being completely dominant on Defender, and beating Charlie Farr on both Robotron and Galaxian. He tells me he might not be quite so active next season, but let's see. Even spending 50% of the time he did this season, or less, he'll still be a force to be reckoned with. With this season done, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's played. Without you all, there's no competition. I hope you've enjoyed playing and want to come back next season. Anyone watching who might like to play too, please get in touch. I'm hoping next season can be the biggest and best yet. One last thing before we move on to Season 5. This table I do see as the definitive one, as this includes everyone who's taken part, but we have had a few people only join for a few games. For that reason, I've generated a second version of the table that restricts the scoring to only those who have played 5 games or more during the season. The scores for each game have been adjusted and the totals recalculated. I've also replaced the entries column for a points gain due to the changes, and we can see that the different people gain more than others. Big gainers are Milthy, who's up 9 points to get ahead of Alan. Retrotrend 2084 is up 15 to also get ahead of Alan and Schmuppinleven. But our biggest gainer, with 22 additional points from the adjustments, is Ian. Removing Charlie Farr gives Ian the win for China Miner, and these extra points are enough to sneak him ahead of me in the table, which reflects his highly consistent submissions, so well done to Ian. But our top 3 remain the same, reflecting their great performances over the course of the whole season. Well, that wraps up Season 4 of Mamemeister's High Score Kerfuffle. Now, I want to let you know what we'll be doing for Season 5. So, like Season 3, we're going to return to random selection, but things will be tweaked a little to make it a little fairer. So what I'd like from each of you is up to 5 games you'd like to see us play next season. And no, Juffer, you can't submit Don't On Patchy 5 times. Each week, I will put all of the games into the random selector again, and we'll see what we get. I will also limit things to 1 game per player over the season, other than Andrew, who can have 2 for winning this season. I'll also gift an extra game for anyone who wins 2 games or more. Each week, I will double the probability of the games of the previous winner coming up, and include theirs if they had used up their shots, but without the doubling. The other thing I'm going to change is the scoring. As more people take part, having only 10 scoring places doesn't reflect the fact that 11th is a much more significant performance than 19th, for example. Given we were getting over 20 players late last season, I'm now going to do points down to 20th place, and our winner will now be getting 100 points, with the top 5 receiving the exact same fractions of the winner's points as before, but 6th onwards will be more generous than previously. This still rewards top performances, but is a bit fairer down the order. So please send me your 5 games via direct message, either on Discord or on Instagram. Anyone playing that would like to join the Discord, just give me a shout. I'd also like to hear what your favourite and least favourite games were this season. So, given we've got a week off the main competition, I thought I'd set a game for us to play this week that I hope will be a popular one, but not one I think makes a great competition game, and that's Outrun, released by Sega in 1986. This was one of Sega's big superscaler games of the 80s that really pushed things forward graphically, moving to 3D before the emergence of polygon games. Outrun is an arcade classic, and is a bit more of an experience than a game. The wonderful music and the lovely scenes, we can cruise from Season 4 onto what I hope will be an even better Season 5. If we can get at least 20 people playing each week, I'll be very pleased. We'll be playing Outrun for score using the Rev B ROM. I hope you all enjoy a little cruising around this week in your Ferrari, and I'll be back next week kicking off Season 5. See you then.